Hi guys, good evening everyone. So today's session is going to be about Indian economy yet again. We are moving to Indian economy now. एक minute, let me just सर्दी का टाइम है, थोड़ा सा एको हो रहा है बिकॉज द एसी इज़ नॉट वर्किंग, द फैन इज़ नॉट वर्किंग. तो आई फील अ लिटिल वियर्ड एंड दिस स्टूडियो इज़ अ लिटिल स्मॉलर, तो एको थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, बट इट्स ओके. सो इन टुडेज सेशन वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ वर्सेस इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट. देखने में सुनने में काफ़ी छोटा टॉपिक लग रहा है और लग रहा है कि यार ये तो बहुत ही आसान है, ये तो हमें पता ही है व्हाट इज़ द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट, वी कैन डू इट वेरी इजीली. बट देर आर वेरी स्मॉल निटिग्रिटीज़ विच आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, जहाँ से क्वेश्चंस आने के चांसेस ज़्यादा हैं. चाहे आप ऑब्जेक्टिव एग्ज़ाम की तैयारी कर रहे हो लाइक APFC, whether you're preparing for a descriptive examination, whatever I'm going to discuss will be very very relevant for you guys. ठीक है, तो इग्नोर नहीं करना है, यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर टेकिंग इट सीरियसली. ठीक है, चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं. जस्ट लेट मी नो इफ देर इज कंप्लीट सिंक बिटवीन व्हाट आई एम सेइंग एंड व्हाट यू आर हेयरिंग. सिंक है ना मेरे लिप मूवमेंट में और व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. I just want to be sure about that. Suraj, it is there. All these sessions 1 to 5 are there. In the channel. वो 6 to 10 आपको दिख रहे होंगे because 1 to 5 technically were the sessions on industrial relations. We started with industrial relations. 5 हमने सेशंस किए, फिर उसके बाद हम इकोनॉमी में मूव कर गए, इकोनॉमी के 5 सेशन किए, देन वी मूव बैक टू इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस. इसीलिए आपको दिख रहा होगा, बट वो नाम चेंज कर दिए. आई थिंक थंबनेल चेंज करना रह गया है, नाम चेंज कर दिए हैं. नाउ दे आर टर्म्ड एज और नेम्ड एज 1 to 5 ओनली. सो 6 is actually 1, 6 is not 6. ओके, हम आई डिड नॉट वांट टू ब्रेक द चेन, बट देन आई फेल्ट कि स्टूडेंट्स कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं, तो फिर हर एक टॉपिक का, हर एक सब्जेक्ट का अलग से सीरीज़ है 1 to 5 जो 1 से स्टार्ट हो रही है. ओके, चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं. So today we will be talking about economic growth versus economic development. Let's have a look at what all are we going to be covering today. क्या क्या हम cover करने वाले हैं. Let's have a look at that first and then we will move forward. Number one, I will be talking about economic growth. What is economic growth? I will be talking about development. I will differentiate between these two. Indices to measure development will not be picked up in this session, ये हम बाद में उठाएंगे. अंडर डेवलपमेंट, अंडर डेवलप्ड वर्सेस डेवलपिंग वर्सेस डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज, ये पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट भी हम समझेंगे. सो ग्रोथ, डेवलपमेंट, अंडर डेवलपमेंट, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी आवर फोकस फॉर दिस सेशन. Let us start with growth and let's try to understand what is economic growth. Now, if it is asked in the examination, there is a question on growth, then the first thing that you have to do and the most important is to define economic growth. If there is a descriptive question, आपको define करना है economic growth है क्या. Okay. Even in objective questions, you might be given different definitions of economic growth and you have to identify which of those definitions is not one of the feature of economic growth. तो features economic growth के या different definitions, different ideas related to economic growth should be very very clear with you. Okay. The first one is increase in the output of goods and services, which is the simplest one. Goods and services का output बढ़ता है. If it increases, then we say that there is growth. There is a difference between GDP and economic growth. You have to understand the difference between these two. What is GDP? Gross Domestic Product. This is the total output of goods and services. It has nothing to do with increase or decrease in the level of output. So the total output of goods and services is called as gross domestic product of a country in a particular year. But उस आउटपुट में इंक्रीज हुआ है vis-a-vis the base year or the previous year, या फिर डिक्रीज हुआ है और it has it gone down vis-a-vis the base year or the previous year, that gives us economic growth and not the GDP. So that is the first one that you have to understand. Okay, I hope the difference is also clear now. It's very important to understand this. What is the second one or the next one? A rate of expansion that can move an underdeveloped economy from a near subsistence mode of living to substantially higher levels in a few decades. कुछ ही सालों में a rate of expansion, which can also be termed as a rate of growth, which can take an economy from being an underdeveloped economy to being a satisfied, a highly developed or a developing economy, wherein when you were underdeveloped you were near subsistence mode, मतलब आप बस किसी तरह जी रहे थे, आपका देश किसी तरह जी रहा था, to substantially higher levels. तो ये हो गया underdeveloped. और यहाँ से हमें अगर यहाँ जाना है, we want to be here, just one parameter of development, the development of cities, infrastructure. Infrastructure में physical infrastructure, just one small parameter of development. ये मैंने यहाँ पर example लिया है. That tells us a lot of information about growth. तो growth enables that an economy can move from being an underdeveloped economy, which is living on mere subsistence level, to a higher level economy, which comes either in the category of developing or developed, and which is expanding its physical, social infrastructure and various other facilities to the people en masse. ठीक है, ये हो गए दो पैरामीटर्स या दो definitions, two basic definitions about economic growth. What is the next one? A dynamic concept that refers to a continuous expansion in level of output. The same thing being termed or being discussed or explained in a different way. Continuous expansion in level of output. Level of output is what? GDP. मैंने आपको ये पहली स्लाइड में बता दिया था. GDP में जब expansion होगा, that will give us growth. GDP में contraction होगा, that will give us degrowth. Growth नीचे जा रही है. Okay. इन इकोनॉमिक्स द फोर्थ वन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, जिसमें एक और कॉन्सेप्ट मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन कर दूंगा. इन इकोनॉमिक्स, इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ थ्योरी टिपिकली रेफर्स टू ग्रोथ ऑफ पोटेंशियल आउटपुट, दैट इज प्रोडक्शन एट फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट. ग्रोथ ऑफ पोटेंशियल आउटपुट. व्हाट इज पोटेंशियल जीडीपी और पोटेंशियल आउटपुट? द प्रोडक्शन दैट अ कंट्री कैन डू एट फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट. जब उसका फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट लेवल होगा, व्हेन इट इज मोस्ट एफिशिएंट, तब जो भी वो प्रोडक्शन करेगी, दैट विल बी कॉल्ड एज पोटेंशियल जीडीपी. ओके, एंड ग्रोथ ऑफ दिस पोटेंशियल जीडीपी विल बी कॉल्ड एज इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. इस पोटेंशियल जीडीपी का ग्रोथ जो होगा उसको हम इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ भी बोलेंगे, बिकॉज इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ इज नथिंग एल्स बट ग्रोथ इन आवर जीडीपी नंबर्स. जीडीपी नंबर्स मतलब हमारा जितना प्रोडक्शन हुआ एक साल में, वट एवर वी हैव प्रोड्यूस्ड इन अ ईयर, the growth of that number will give us economic growth. If that number does not grow, if I am producing 10 units, let's say 10 cars in the year 2020-21, then if I am producing 11 cars in 2022, then there is growth. And this growth is derived from an increase in the potential GDP. One of the ways. I hope this is clear. So these are different definitions or different ways of understanding economic growth. Basic understanding तो हमको थी ही. These are some more methods. There is a difference between extensive growth and intensive growth, and it's very important that you have a brief idea about what is extensive growth and what is intensive growth. An increase in the total output is referred to as extensive growth. पूरा output देश का जो हमारा बढ़ा है, an increase. The GDP of India in 2020 was, let's say, $3 trillion. The GDP of India in 2021 is, let's say, $3.2 trillion. Then there is a growth in total output, increase in total output. It's called as extensive part of gross domestic product growth or economic growth or extensive growth. As you can see here, 300 मतलब 3 ट्रिलियन पे हम लोग आ गए थे, 300 बिलियन, और यहाँ से हम लोग इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे नीचे गए, यहाँ पे इंक्रीज करा, देन वी अगेन वेंट डाउन. what this is showing us is an increase or decrease in total output. Total output में increase या decrease, that is given by extensive growth. Intensive growth, as you must have already predicted by now, is an increase in the output per capita. Output per capita increase will be called as intensive growth. हर एक इंसान को, अगर हम population भी लें, so India's GDP increased to 3.2 trillion, let's say, and the population was 1.3 billion, now it is 1.4 billion. Population भी बढ़ गई. So now we have to feed 1.4 billion, or these many people are consuming and producing this amount of goods and services. So per capita will tell us specifically कि हर एक इंसान, how much is every person contributing to growth, how much is every person taking advantage of growth, how much is every person receiving out of the benefit of growth. हर एक इंसान का contribution, हर एक इंसान को benefit कितना मिल रहा है, ये सारी चीज़ें हमें per capita GDP बताएगा. Per capita GDP can only tell us this. Okay, and this kind of growth is called as intensive growth. I hope this is clear. As you can see here, estimated GDP per capita in current prices of India from 1986 to 2026. ये सारे advanced, all these are advanced estimates. Okay, so this is per capita GDP, $2,000 per capita GDP, $3,000. यहाँ पे you can see in 2021 the per capita GDP has reduced. Why? Because the population has increased. Even if at times your GDP is increasing, your GDP per capita might decrease. Why? Because your rise in population, if it is more than the rise in GDP growth, then your per capita GDP is going to go down. आपकी population ज़्यादा तेज grow कर रही है, so of course your per capita GDP is going to fall. Okay. Intensive growth is important in the context of increase in standard of living. अब intensive growth की importance क्या है? Number one, it tells us whether the standard of living of the people is increasing or decreasing of the population. Okay, and it also tells us the level of inequality. ये दो चीज़ें बता देता है हमको कि भैया स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग इम्प्रूव हो रहा है या फिर नहीं हो रहा है लोगों का. Is the standard of living improving or not? If the GDP per capita is going up, that gives us a clear indication that standard of living is going up. That is an assumption that is being made because now more people have more money in their hands. Okay, and the next one is inequality. It also gives us an indication about the level of inequality in a country, because if the per capita GDP is too low, that means, and the GDP is already too high, that means a very small number of people have a lot of money in their hands. अब हमारी, let's say total GDP is 3.2 trillion and there are 1.5 billion people on this in India. GDP तो इतना ही है, population बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है. GDP is not increasing proportionately with the rise in population. That gives us a clear indication that there is a very high spike in inequality. Too many people are below poverty line, too few people are earning a lot of money and thus contributing towards this. Because if all these 1.5 billion or 1.4 out of these 1.5 were contributing, let's say $1,000 also, then the economy would have been doing much better. Okay, so it gives us a clear indication about inequality levels in our country. I hope this is clear. This is the difference between extensive and intensive growth and why GDP per capita becomes so important in our understanding of actual GDP growth. So this is also one of the important learnings about the importance of GDP per capita or intensive growth. Okay, it can be asked in the interview as well. Now, what are the contribution of GDP growth? GDP growth contribute कहाँ पे करता है? Number one, in the factor market it contributes. What is a factor? People, labor. These are factors of production. Okay, improvement in skills of workforce and more efficient and safer types of machinery is the contribution made by economic growth. When there is consistent economic growth, people are able to skill themselves. When they're able to skill themselves, they move from being construction workers, unskilled construction workers, to people in the service industry, to skilled people in the manufacturing industry. They're able to learn certain skills which are valued in the industry, in the market, and they're able to utilize those skills for earning higher sums of money, for making a better living, for improving their standards of living. तो फैक्टर मार्केट का जो कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन है, दैट इज द फर्स्ट कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन मेड बाय इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. एंड दीज गो वाइस वर्सा. देयर इज अ सर्कुलर चेन, देयर इज अ सर्कुलर मूवमेंट. विद इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, फैक्टर ऑफ या फैक्टर मार्केट गोज अप और इम्प्रूव्स. With an improvement in factor market, economic growth also improves. So there is a circular movement. They empower each other, and if one of them is missing, it pulls the other one down. And fortunately, in everything that you read related to economic growth, you will see in almost everything there is a circular movement. One affects the other. Poverty dekh lo. Poverty is going to affect economic growth. It will not allow economic growth, economy to grow. And if there is not enough growth, the poverty cannot be removed in the economy. So the poverty will remain because the economy is not growing. And because there is poverty, there will be low economic growth. So they affect each other both positively as well as negatively. So very important question which can be asked descriptive mein, which can be asked in the examination is whether Indian growth story can be improved by controlling population or by targeting poverty. This is a very favorite question, very old question, but बहुत अच्छा question है कि भाई how can we increase our GDP per capita? How can we improve our growth? Whether should we be targeting population? Should we be targeting poverty? We have to target both. Why? Because when we don't target poverty, it will pull economic growth down. If we don't target population, if we let it grow without any control, it will pull economic growth down. GDP per capita automatically will come down. Okay, I hope this is clear. So there is always a circular flow majority of the times when we're talking about economic growth and its contributors and its factors, various things related to it. So first contributor is factor market. Second contributor is commodity market. ज़्यादा output होगा, newer and better products will be created. So with economic growth, contribution क्या है economic growth का? If there is, the question here is, if there is economic growth, what is going to happen? If there is economic growth, people will be able to acquire newer skills, so the factor market will improve. If there is economic growth, there will be more output, number one, and there will be better products, number two. So typewriter being replaced by a Mac, that is possible only because there is economic growth. Economic growth gave the voice, gave the opportunity to people like Steve Jobs to create such a company, to innovate, to invent new products and services, and to enable all the people to have access to those products and services. Okay, without economic growth, without an increase in GDP, ये सब possible नहीं होगा. So second contribution is commodity market. What is a structural shift? ये बहुत important हो जाता है डिस्कस करने के लिए. Structural shift होता क्या है? You must have heard about structural shift happening at the time of LPG reforms. We will be reading about LPG reforms down the line when we start talking about the stages of Indian economy growth. Okay, but for now, जब LPG reforms आए, we often read that there were structural moves, structural shifts in the Indian economy. What is it? Economy moves away from being largely rural and agriculture based to urban and industry based. ये सबसे rudimentary, सबसे basic definition है या फिर characteristic है related to structural changes. Whenever there is a structural change in the economy, it moves away from being a rural economy, from being an agriculture based economy, agriculture dominated economy, to being an urban and industry based economy. Why? Because by moving to urban and industry dominated economy, through that only we can see economic growth. Otherwise there will be no economic growth. And realizing that only, the economy is shifted from earlier methods टू अ न्यू मेथड जहाँ पर कि हम देख सकें कि भाई अर्बन एरियाज इंप्रूव कर रहे हैं, इंडस्ट्री ग्रो कर रही है. अदरवाइज स्ट्रक्चरल शिफ्ट करेंगे क्यों? वाई वुड वी डू इट? ओके. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल ट्रेडिशनल एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर है यहाँ पर. Surplus labor when it moves to the manufacturing sector, then their service savings improve, उनको ज़्यादा पैसा मिलता है. These savings are reinvested in the market, it results in capital growth. Okay, so this is one of the ways in which structural change contributes towards further economic growth, and one of the major examples is when people or labor moves from traditional agriculture sector towards manufacturing and services sector. Okay. The jobs move from agriculture towards manufacturing, retail, finance, IT, media, energy, all these areas. Okay, and structural change is explained by globalization, a new economic framework, more innovation, more interconnectedness. We will be talking about structural changes in detail when we talk about LPG reforms. Not right now, not the right time to talk about it, because we're talking about economic growth and development. I hope you've understood what is a structural change. That was the only idea. Okay, importance क्या है economic growth की? I hope you've understood it by now, but if you are to write a descriptive answer, you should be able to understand what is the importance of economic growth. There is quantitative importance and there is qualitative importance. दोनों importance होती हैं. Quantitative importance भी होती है economic growth की, and there is a qualitative importance also. क्वांटिटेटिव इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है? इंक्रीज इन एम्प्लॉयमेंट, इंक्रीज इन टैक्स रेवेन्यू, इंक्रीज्ड कंजम्पशन. ज़्यादा इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी होगी, देयर इज मोर इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी, इट विल रिजल्ट इन मोर एम्प्लॉयमेंट, मोर चॉइसेस टू द पीपल. एम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ेगी, इंक्रीज होगी, फॉल इन अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, मोर चॉइसेस टू द पीपल, मोर purchasing power in the hands of the people, more savings by the people. All these will run simultaneously. More earnings means more tax revenue for the government, more investment on welfare by the government. More earnings means more consumption, means more investment for higher supply. मेरी कंजम्पशन बढ़ेगी, कल मैं 1 ब्रेड का पैकेट खाता था, आज से मैं 2 खाने लगा हूँ. कल मैं आधा लीटर दूध पीता था, आज से मैं 1 लीटर दूध पी रहा हूँ. So the market will read this. Okay, this person is eating more, consuming more, so let us supply him more. We need to increase the supply as well. Okay. Happens on a mass scale, everybody starts drinking 1 kg, 1 liter of milk every day, doubles instantly, the market will fall short supply. Then they will start increasing their production. More economic growth. What is GDP and economic growth? Amount of goods and services produced in the economy, and their increase or decrease is economic growth. It's as simple as that. Okay. Okay. Now, what are the qualitative contributions or qualitative importance of economic growth? It helps in poverty alleviation, गरीबी हटाने में काम करेगा. It is an important instrument to resolve social tensions. Now this is a very important point because ये थोड़ा depth में है point. Normally you would have seen that economies which are doing well economically, countries which are doing well economically, they don't see a lot of crisis. You will be seeing crisis in the entire West Asia, in the entire Middle East. You don't see that kind of a long crisis in the US or in Europe or in Russia or in China. People are busy working, people are busy earning their livelihood, people are busy growing, people are busy consuming, people are busy investing. So because people are too busy and they see that there is a potential in the economy, we can earn money, we can have a better livelihood, we can have a better standard of living, they are taken away from all these social tensions. वहाँ रिलीजन के बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे. Even if they do, they'll do it in their bedroom, they'll do it in their living room, they'll do it at a party, but they won't come to the street every day and fight for it because they have better things to do. So all these social tensions arise. One of the major factors is when people have nothing to do because the economy is not doing well. In India also, you come to the cities, do you see people protesting on the streets every day and talking about religious polarization that's happening? They do it, but they do it at parties, they do it more humanly, they're argumentative, they're logical. But you go to the villages, okay, villages में जाओगे आप देखोगे बहुत सारे villages में लोग काम नहीं कर रहे हैं क्योंकि jobs नहीं है. There are no jobs. So people are sitting unemployed, they don't know what to do. It's easy for the political parties to polarize these people, to make these turn these people into violent behemoths, to turn these people into more violent beings who are not ready to listen to what the other party has to say, because they're already frustrated inside. They don't have jobs, they also have certain aspirations. अब नौकरी नहीं है तो क्या करेगा? So you start pushing these people into these areas. Religion के बारे में बात करो, polarize करो, push these people into thinking that the other religion is responsible for their situation. The political party or the economy is not responsible, that other religious guy is responsible. So that is how you increase violent behavior and you increase social tensions, because if the economy is not doing well, people don't have jobs, people have nothing to do, they start fighting. Okay. Wider range for human choices and economic activities, very very important. You go to the village, go to a small town, you will see that the kids don't have any idea about what to do other than study. They just know how to play cricket, football, or any other sport which is cheap, or they keep studying, because there is no opportunity, there is no choice available to them. You come to a city, you come to a good school, you will see that there are so many possibilities provided, so many choices provided. Horse riding कर लो, skiing सीख लो, okay, chess खेलना सीख लो, all these choices are given. So then any kid, if he or she is given more choices, he can explore more and he can do much more in his future. He can contribute much more to the society in the future. अपना ही example लेता हूँ, I can take my own example. For example, when I passed out from college, my father told me, you prepare for UPSC if you want to do it. He gave me a choice. He told me, I am there to look after you. You have all my financial support. You do whatever you want to do. If I did not have that choice, I would not have prepared for UPSC. If I had not prepared for UPSC, I would not have studied so much. If I had not studied so much, I would not be teaching today. Or if I was, I would be a bad teacher. Very bad teacher if I'm an average teacher now. तो ये जो choice मिली मुझे, that made it possible for me to explore the possibilities that I have, to learn more, to grow better. So economic growth provides those choices to the people. Okay, I hope this is clear. बहुत ही simple सा point है. I've explained it well enough, I believe. समझ आ गया होगा. Sources क्या हैं economic growth के? What are the sources of economic growth? Capital formation, capital output ratio, occupational structure, technology, progress. ये बस 4 forces लिखे हैं. There are much more sources provided in the official PDF. वो मैं बाद में आपको Telegram group पे दे दूँगा. Capital formation, more capital, more production, higher growth. If there is more capital formation in the economy, there will be, मतलब ज़्यादा capital है. Capital means money also. Simply ले लो. More money, more production, and the growth increases. Okay. Capital output ratio, if the productivity of capital is more, if 1 unit of capital is producing a lot of increase in economic growth, is producing a lot of output compared to some other unit of capital, if the capital output ratio is low, it means 1 unit of capital is contributing to a higher units of output. That means the productivity of capital is high. Occupational structure of working population, if majority of the working population is involved in industries, is involved in service sector, then their productivity is high, their contribution to economic growth is high. If on the other hand they are involved in agriculture, which does not contribute that much to the economy, to the GDP of a nation, then of course whatever they are doing, that is not contributing towards the GDP of their country. 10 लोग काम कर रहे हैं, 4 लोग भी कर सकते थे सेम काम, या फिर 4 लोग, 4 people working in industry can produce, let's say, rupees 100 worth of output. 14 people in agriculture are producing rupees 100 worth of output. ये difference है. वहाँ 14 लोग उतना ही output produce कर रहे हैं. This is what? This is GDP. This is also GDP. Here only 4 people are going to contribute that much. So occupational structure of working population is a source of economic growth. If the occupational structure is right, then it will result in higher economic growth. And the last is technology. If the technology is growing every day, if the technology is growing with the growth of technology worldwide, the contribution to economic growth will be higher. Financial inclusion is the best example. Financial inclusion and various apps which have come up, UPI, cryptocurrency coming up now, best example of how technology progress can contribute towards economic growth. What are the limitations of economic growth? हमने अच्छी बातें तो पढ़ ली. It's very important to understand the limitations of economic growth. सबसे पहले, it misses out on or ignores income inequality. GDP per capita, yes, it does take into consideration economic inequality, but economic growth and total GDP of a nation, these two factors ignore income inequality. More equal distribution of income means more sustainable growth, but economic growth does not take that into consideration. It has a severe impact on the environment. We're already seeing climate change. Loss of non-renewable resources like coal, like oil, we're already seeing crisis happening due to loss of these non-renewable resources. This also happens because of too much focus on economic growth without talking about economic development, without talking about gross national happiness, without talking about sustainable growth. Okay, तो हम धीरे धीरे शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ से इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर. आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड एवरीथिंग रिलेटेड टू इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट. ट्रेडिशनल अप्रोच क्या थी इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट की? व्हाट वाज द ट्रेडिशनल अप्रोच ऑफ इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट? पहले हम क्या बोला करते थे इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के बारे में? अ सस्टेन्ड एनुअल इंक्रीज in GDP or GNP of a nation with alteration in the structure of production and employment such that share of agriculture declines and share of manufacturing and services increase. It means a change or shift in employment structure plus sustained matlab consistent regular increase in GDP. This was termed as economic development. पहले ऐसा बोलते थे 1970s के पहले. Economic development means sustained increase in GDP plus people moving from agriculture towards services and manufacturing. That is economic development. It is assumed that changes in GDP would trickle down. तो trickle down effect सोचा जाता था कि ये काम करेगा. So there was very limited gap between the concept of economic growth and economic development. Both were almost synonymous with each other. ज़्यादा कोई difference था नहीं इन दोनों में. धीरे धीरे हमने देखा the problems emanating from economic growth. तो हमें फिर रियलाइज हुआ भाई इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट इज नॉट जस्ट सिनोनिमस विद इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, कुछ और अदर फैक्टर्स भी हैं. व्हाट आर दीज? नाउ इट इज डिफाइंड टू इंक्लूड इम्प्रूवमेंट्स इन मटीरियल वेलफेयर. मटीरियल वेलफेयर मतलब पॉवर्टी कम करनी है, लोगों को एजुकेशन देनी है, ओके, हेल्थ इम्प्रूव करनी है, एनवायरनमेंट की कंडीशन इम्प्रूव करनी है, नॉइस पोल्यूशन, एयर पोल्यूशन, वाटर पोल्यूशन, ऑल दीज आर वेलफेयर पैरामीटर्स. इरेडिकेशन ऑफ पॉवर्टी, चेंज इन प्रोडक्शन स्ट्रक्चर फॉर एग्रीकल्चर इंडस्ट्री. तो पुरानी वाली जो डेफिनेशन है दैट इज ऑलरेडी देयर, ऐसा नहीं है, दे हैव नॉट डिस्कार्डेड इट. दे आर सेइंग यस इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट इंक्लूड्स अ सस्टेन्ड इंक्रीज इन जीडीपी. इट इंक्लूड्स अ मूवमेंट और स्ट्रक्चरल शिफ्ट फ्रॉम एग्रीकल्चर टू सर्विसेज एंड फ्रॉम एग्रीकल्चर टू manufacturing, but at the same time it also includes an improvement in material welfare of the people. Okay, economic growth plus progressive changes in certain crucial variables which determine well-being of the people. तो qualitative aspects को भी इंक्लूड किया गया, जैसे कि एक लेडी के कितने बच्चे हो रहे हैं, किस एज पे बच्चे हो रहे हैं, what is the fertility rate, at what age, what is the average age of fertility of a woman. That is a parameter under economic development, ignored completely in economic growth. Okay, how many people have iPhones or mobile phones? The increase in number of people having mobile phones, that is a parameter of economic growth. Okay, but how many people are educated, to what level are they educated, how many people have completed their primary education and moved to secondary or higher education, that is a पैरामीटर ऑफ इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट, नॉट ऑफ ग्रोथ. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. ये सारी चीज़ें क्लियर हैं. नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं. लेट्स कम टू द नेक्स्ट वन. We have understood the traditional approach of economic growth. We have understood the modern approach of economic growth. Now we have to talk about economic growth versus economic development. What is the difference between economic growth and economic development? I hope now it is already clear. I am just giving you the points. I will not be spending a lot of time because you already understood it. Economic development can be referred as quantitative and qualitative changes in the economy. Focuses on spectrum of spheres ranging from health, education, employment, safety, environment, social exclusion, gender empowerment, infrastructure, etc., etc. Takes into consideration both quantitative and qualitative. Scope is broad. Measures like HDI, Human Development Index, Gender Inequality Index, Gender Development Index, these are considered. I hope this is all very simple to understand now. No rocket science involved here. What is economic growth? A mere increase in the level of output of goods and services that is sustained over a long period of time. The first definition that I mentioned about economic growth, measured in terms of rise in GDP, ये मैंने आपको बता दिया था. It is only an increase in rise in GDP. It includes not only a sustained increase in GDP but also material wealth, material welfare of the people. Okay. Only quantitative changes are considered in economic growth, and it is measured through GDP, GNP, or national income. These kind of terms or these kinds of concepts are used, which we have already studied. Okay. What are the structural changes that are brought about by economic growth? Constituents of GDP change in terms of percentage shares. Saving rates increase and income as income grows. Structural changes क्या क्या होते हैं when there is economic development? Number one, अगर हम खाली GDP की बात करें, with an increase in GDP, what should be happening if there is economic development? Question समझ लो पहले clearly. I am saying if there is economic development, what are the structural changes that are expected to happen in an economy? I am repeating, if there is economic development, what are the structural changes that are expected to happen in an economy? Structural changes related to a change in GDP. Number one, the saving rate will increase as the income grows. जैसे जैसे income बढ़ेगी, the saving rate should increase. If it is increasing, then we can say there is economic development. The government revenues and expenditure should increase. Food consumption drops and non-food consumption increases. ये वाला बहुत important है समझना, ये pure economics का point है. It doesn't mean that you start consuming less. It doesn't mean that you start consuming less. It means that when there is economic development, let's say मेरी जो income थी, that was rupees 10,000 per month. Out of this 10,000, I was spending 5,000 on eating, consumption, and I was spending 5,000 on other things, traveling, renting a house, etc., etc. Now my income has increased to, let's say, 50,000. Am I still going to spend 25,000 on eating? Of course not. ऐसा तो नहीं है ना 5 का 25 हो जाएगा, 5 का 10 हो जाएगा on eating, and the remaining 40,000 I will be either saving or spending elsewhere on non-food consumption. So what have I done? My income has increased 5 times from 10,000 to 50,000, but my consumption on food, spending on food has increased only from 5 to 10, has only doubled. This is what we mean when we write this. Food consumption drops. Doesn't mean कि 5,000 का भी नहीं खा रहा हूँ, but as a percentage of my total income, food consumption drops. Okay, and non-food consumption increases when there is economic development. Contribution of services and industry increases while the contribution of agriculture falls when there is economic development. So structural shift में ये आ जाता है. Then there are employment changes. Employment changes reflect the shift in output and changes in productivity. Employment change क्या reflect करता है? Shift in output and change in productivity. When there is a change in productivity, improvement in productivity, when there is a movement or uptrend in increase in output, then we can say there is employment change and economic development. Labor in the primary sector does not fall as rapidly as its share in output. अब ये क्यों important है ये बता देते हैं हम आपको. एग्रीकल्चर में आपने देखा होगा that the number of people working were 70% approximately at the time of independence. Now it has gone down to somewhere between 40 and 50, 48 लेके चलते हैं let's say. Okay, but so this is employment, but their contribution to GDP has fallen very fast. It was almost 50% at the time of independence. Now it is 17% approximately, 15 to 17%. Agriculture and allied. So what has happened? Labor in the primary sector, which is agriculture, does not fall as rapidly as its share in output. Its share in output has fallen from 50 to 17, but their share in employment in agriculture sector has not fallen by the same margin. This is what happens, and this is what becomes a hindrance in economic development. Okay, so employment change hota hai, number one, but people take time to move from primary to secondary industry. Okay, the reverse is true for employment in industry, where increase in labor productivity is more easily secured. That is why we say that people should be moving from agriculture to industry and services, because वहाँ पे productivity ज़्यादा है, जो मैंने आपको बताया 4 versus 14. So their contribution to the GDP is going to be more. वो 14 लोग, if they are working in the industrial sector, they will be contributing much more. Okay, so these are the two major structural changes that are made and required by economic development. अगर development करना है तो what are the other changes? और भी हैं. शिफ्ट इन कॉम्पोजिशन ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट्स. एक्सपोर्ट्स के कॉम्पोजिशन में शिफ्ट होना ज़रूरी है इफ़ वी आर टू से दैट देयर इज़ अ स्ट्रक्चरल चेंज बिकॉज ऑफ इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट. एज डेवलपमेंट प्रोसीड्स, एक्सपोर्ट्स विल अकाउंट फॉर अ लार्जर प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ इनकम. There will be a shift in composition of exports so that the value of export of manufacturers rises. Now this is the vision of Nehru ji. Why did he create such capital intensive countries? BHEL, स्टील, सेल इंडिया, सेल, बहुत सारी ऐसी बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज, ONGC, बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी सेटअप की गई. व्हाट वाज द ऑब्जेक्टिव, व्हाट वाज द प्राइमरी आइडिया? द आइडिया वाज दिस, that there will be a marked shift in the composition of exports. हम लोग फ़ोन बना पाएंगे तो हम लोग फ़ोन बेच पाएंगे. हम लोग बनाएंगे ही नहीं तो फिर वो खाने की चीज़ें बेचते रहेंगे, चावल दाल ये चीज़ें बेचते रहेंगे. सो ही विजुअलाइज दैट, ही हैड दिस आइडिया. उन्होंने पढ़ा था, उनके जो एडवाइजर्स थे उनको ये पता था, दे न्यू अबाउट दिस, एंड दैट इज़ वाई दे थॉट ऑफ क्रिएटिंग दोज कैपिटल इंटेंसिव इंडस्ट्रीज बाय देमसेल्व्स, बिकॉज द प्राइवेट सेक्टर वॉज नॉन एग्जिस्टेंट. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. So economic development नहीं होगा, it will not happen if there is no shift in the composition of exports or composition of production in the economy. Okay, imports will also rise because the consumption of people will rise. When there is more economic growth, people have more money in their hands, they want to demand good things, they will start importing more. If in the next 5 years Tesla doesn't come to India, I'm very very sure people will start importing Tesla in large numbers, and the government will then think कि यार प्रोडक्शन ही स्टार्ट करवा देते हैं किसी तरह, वी आर लूजिंग सो मच मनी. कस्टम्स ड्यूटी में वी आर गेनिंग, बट it's not getting produced in India. We are losing so much employment that can be generated by it. So imports will also rise, but at the same time our exports will also increase if there is economic development. Okay, rate of increase in population, very very important. When there is economic development and not just growth, there will be a faster shift from level 1 or stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. The shift will speed up. Okay, as incomes increase, the rate of increase in population may be expected to fall. As the birth rate declines along with fall in death rate, the population would still be increasing, but gradually the rate of growth will tend to peter out. I hope this is clear. बहुत simple सी बात है. You have already you must have an idea about how there are stages in population growth. First, there is, in stage 1 there is high death rate and high birth rate. In stage 2 there is high birth rate but the death rate goes down. In stage 3 both the birth rate and death rate go down. Okay, अब ये 3 stages हैं. if there is economic development in an economy, there is a faster shift from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. I hope this is clear. So this is the contribution of economic development towards structural changes. The distribution of income also changes or improves. Income would at first become more unequally distributed, and then there will be more equality with economic development. Economic development होगा तो equality will come in the economy faster, inequality reduce होगी. तो अभी हम देख रहे हैं in India we are seeing that inequality is on a uptrend since 1991. There is economic growth, but not every person is able to take advantage of that growth. Not every person is able to reach out to that increase in economic growth. So there is inequality. तो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट कहीं ना कहीं कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर रहे हैं हम लोग. आई होप दैट इज क्लियर. अंडर डेवलपमेंट, लास्ट टॉपिक फॉर टुडे. व्हाट इज अंडर डेवलपमेंट? होता क्या है? लो इनकम इकोनॉमीज आर कंसिडर्ड अंडर डेवलप्ड, मिडिल इनकम आर कंसिडर्ड डेवलपिंग एंड हाई इनकम आर कंसिडर्ड एडवांस्ड और डेवलप्ड. ओके, वर्ल्ड डेवलपमेंट रिपोर्ट का एक कैटेगराइजेशन है. इट कैटेगराइजेस इकोनॉमीज इनटू हाई इनकम, मिडिल इनकम एंड लो इनकम इकोनॉमीज. उन्होंने बोल दिया 3 टाइप की इकोनॉमीज हैं. हाई इनकम इकोनॉमीज आर कॉल्ड एज डेवलप्ड, लो इनकम इकोनॉमीज आर कॉल्ड एज अंडर डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज. नाउ व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट differentiate between high income and low income economies? GDP per capita, wherein per capita tells us the level of inequality in a country. Okay, the condition of standard of living, education, health, life expectancy. ऐसे बहुत सारे पैरामीटर्स हैं जिनको लेके हम डिटरमाइन करते हैं whether an economy is developed, underdeveloped or developing. Okay, now there are certain so there is no hard and fast rule that if there is a low income economy then it has to be underdeveloped. Okay, if there is a low income economy, especially in Africa it is happening, but if it shows great potential, if it is growing very fast, then it can be called as developing. उसको developing का order दिया जा सकता है. If there is a middle income economy and if it is showing great potential, it will be called as developing. Otherwise it might still be called underdeveloped. For example, countries like Pakistan, middle income but not a lot of potential. You would want to term it as an underdeveloped economy, or the parameters will prove to a very large extent that it is going towards underdevelopment because it is not at all growing, not at all using its potential. If there is a high income economy but it is not growing anymore, which happens with a lot of economies, Japan being the prime example, high income economy but the inflation level is high, the growth level is low for a very long time, then it can be called as developed but depleting. नीचे जा रहा है वो economy. Okay, I hope this is clear. The underdeveloped economies showing high potential of growth in terms of their natural, physical and human resources are often referred as developing economies. Economists also use the terms first world, second world and third world countries, developed socialist industries countries and underdeveloped economies respectively. तो ये तो बहुत इजी सी बात है, इसको समझने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, हमें समझ ही गए. Characteristics of underdeveloped or developing economies. So what are the characteristics which define an underdeveloped or a developing economy? Low GNP per capita, which also tells us that inequality is high, standard of living is low. ये दो चीज़ें बताता है. GNP per capita in developing and underdeveloped countries is appallingly low as compared to developed countries. Majority of the population leads a subhuman life, that means standard of living is low, जो मैंने starting में बताया था. However, the estimates of GNP per capita do not reflect appropriately the purchasing power of currencies due to the fact that relative prices of goods and services, PPP, ये वाला बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है समझने के लिए. हमने GNP या GDP पर कैपिटा क्रिएट आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया, अब हम बोल रहे हैं दैट दिस इकोनॉमी इज नॉट डूइंग सो वेल, इट इज़ एन अंडर डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी. बट इफ वी आर नॉट कंसिडरिंग PPP, देन वी आर नॉट टेकिंग इनटू कंसिडरेशन द डिफरेंसेस इन कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग. इसको समझ लेते हैं एक बार कि एग्जैक्टली मैंने बोला क्या है. ये टॉपिक से थोड़ा अलग है बट इट इज़ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो व्हाट इज पीपीपी एंड हाउ डज इट वर्क? लेट्स से इंडियाज जीडीपी इन आईएनआर इज ₹700. 700 रुपये इंडिया का जीडीपी है. ओके. नॉमिनल एक्सचेंज रेट कितना है? $1 इज इक्वल टू 70 INR. दिस इज इन दी मार्केट. फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मार्केट में दिस इज द एक्सचेंज रेट विच इज प्रिवेलिंग राइट नाउ, विच मीन्स जीडीपी ऑफ इंडिया इन $US इज $10. 700 रुपये, $1 is 70 rupees, $10 is India's GDP. This is nominal GDP of India as per the market exchange rate. What is the real GDP? वो हमें पता नहीं है. Real GDP based upon PPP, वो हमें create करना है. The moment we identify this, then we can tell what is the actual GDP per capita of India. तो उसके लिए क्या करेंगे? बट दिस नॉमिनल जीडीपी इज बेस्ड अपॉन मार्केट एक्सचेंज रेट. इन रियलिटी गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज माइट बी चीपर इन इंडिया. हमने बोल दिया इंडिया की जीडीपी पर कैपिटा इज और टोटल जीडीपी इज $10. बट हाउ कैन वी mention it in terms of US dollars when we don't know how much can you buy in this 700 rupees and how much can a US citizen buy in $10. For example, in 700 rupees you can take 2 Ubers from Delhi to Noida and back, for example, and that is, let's say, total of 50 kilometers. In $10 you can travel only 10 kilometers, for example. That means it is more expensive in the US. The cost of living is higher in the US and the cost of living is lower in India. That means this 700 rupees is worth more, is probably 5 times. So how do you identify that? That is identified through purchasing power parity. कि purchasing power जो है रुपए की, उसको identify करना है and you have to keep it in sync with the purchasing power of dollar. So Big Mac index is one index जिससे हम identify करते हैं. अब एक बार और आगे चलते हैं. In reality, the goods and services might be cheaper in India compared with US. PPP corrects the difference. ये PPP purchasing power parity ये difference को correct करता है. So instead of using this, this is where we created the problem. $1 is equal to 70 rupees. We calculate a different exchange rate based upon another index. एक हम index उठाएंगे जैसे कि Big Mac index. उसके बेसिस पे हम एक एक्सचेंज रेट क्रिएट करेंगे. लेट्स से दैट एक्सचेंज रेट कम्स आउट टू बी $1 is equal to 35 Indian rupees. Now we will calculate GDP of India in dollars. It will come out to be $20, more than the previous nominal GDP of India. This is the actual GDP of India based upon PPP, purchasing power parity. Okay, I hope this is clear. Off the topic, but I felt that it is important because PPP का discussion हुआ था तो important था समझना. So GDP per capita tells us about standard of living, but it's very important that we calculate GDP per capita based upon PPP. Okay, otherwise we will not be providing a clear or true picture. Okay, scarcity of capital. Of course, एक developed economy नहीं है, developing है, underdeveloped है, तो capital कम होगा. Capital, think about money when you think about capital. पैसा कम है economy के अंदर. लोगों के पास पैसा नहीं है, लोग बोरो नहीं कर सकते, लेंड नहीं कर सकते. द रेट ऑफ कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन इन अंडर डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज इज लो. पॉवर्टी है तो सेविंग्स कम है, सेविंग्स कम है तो इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए पैसा कम है. व्हेन देयर इज लेस मनी फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट देयर इज लो कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन इन द इकोनॉमी. व्हेन एब्सोल्यूट इनकम इज हाई द एबिलिटी टू सेव इज ऑल्सो हाई. एज आई सेड, माई इनकम इंक्रीज्ड फ्रॉम 10,000 to 50,000. Here I was spending 5,000 on consuming. Here I am spending 10,000 on eating and consuming. I still have 40,000 left. मैंने घर भी बड़ा ले लिया, 10,000 खर्च कर दिए. I still have 30,000 left. Whatever I do, I will still be saving 10,000, 20,000 per month. कुछ मैं सेव कर लूँगा ज़्यादा, which is could be much more than my previous income. So when I increase my income, then the propensity to save also increases potentially. Okay. More underdeveloped countries have been caught in the vicious cycle of poverty and thus their capacity to save is low. Capacity to save, savings are the biggest parameter, biggest contributor towards capital formation. कम गरीबी होगी, लोगों के पास ज़्यादा पैसा होगा, लोग कहीं ना कहीं सेव करेंगे. लोग सेव करेंगे, when people save, it'll go to the market through banks, through stock markets, through other methods, through real estate, and then it will result in higher investment. That higher investment will result in higher production. That higher production will result in more GDP. That GDP will result in more growth in the economy. ठीक है? So this is the virtuous cycle that is created. On the demand side, people don't have money in their hands, they won't demand. Demand ही नहीं करेंगे तो बनाने वाला बनाएगा क्या? So it's a vicious cycle. When there is poverty, when people are not consuming, when people don't have incomes, then they will not demand. When they don't demand, then the supplier will not supply. वो बंद कर देगा अपनी factory. When there is no supply, then the economic growth goes down. I hope this is clear. ठीक है? Rapid population growth and high dependency burden. When there is underdevelopment, then the population growth also goes up very high and the dependency burden also increases. Why? Because there is no employment. कुछ काम करने के लिए नहीं है. Okay. Population growth also increases because people don't know the disadvantages of higher population. लोग क्या सोचेंगे? ये husband wife हैं. They are very barely meeting their ends and they feel कि यार 2-3 बच्चे पैदा कर लेते हैं, नॉट वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट, नॉट वेरी एक्सपेंसिव, इन लोगों से भी काम कराएंगे. वी अर्न लेट्स से 100 रुपीज़ पर डे, बोथ ऑफ अस. दे विल अर्न लेट्स से 10 रुपीज़ पर डे एवरी डे एंड इट टेक्स ₹5 टू टेक केयर ऑफ देम. 5 रुपये का खाना इनको खिलाएंगे तो हमारे पास 5 चौके 20 रुपये और आ गए एवरी डे. So that is the calculation that they are making. A very crude, very basic, very rudimentary calculation that these guys are making because they feel that more people means more hands means more income. Okay, so when there is poverty, then this happens. When there is less poverty, when there is more growth, इनको दिखेगा यार बच्चे पैदा करेंगे, उसको ध्यान रखने के लिए खर्चा करना पड़ेगा. She might probably not be able to work. Let us educate ourselves. Let's increase our income from 100 to 200. When they see opportunities दिखेगी तो ये करेंगे. Okay, I hope this is clear. Low level of productivity. Of course, productivity will be low when people in an underdeveloped economy are not skilled. Underdeveloped होगी तो skill नहीं होगी, skill नहीं होगी तो productivity कम होगी. Okay, low level of living and productivity are self-reinforcing. मतलब levels of living are low, your contribution towards economy will be low, economic growth will be low. So circular जो मैंने बोला था, it happens in everything related to economic growth. Every cycle is circular in nature. Okay, I hope this is clear. Technological backwardness. When there is underdevelopment in an economy, the technology does not grow. The best example is India before 1991. Very high restrictions on which industries could set up where, could set up what, which industries could export, what industries could import, what industries could borrow money, how much they could borrow, how could they set up themselves in the stock market. So many restrictions for everything. What was the problem? Technological backwardness. The best example is Infosys. I was listening to an interview by the owners and they said that before 1991 they ordered some computers for their company and it took them years to just get those computers from the US. After 1991, as soon as the regulations started getting simpler and easier, they could grow very fast. They could grow like a jiffy because they could then import all the technology. They could use that technology to improve themselves, their functioning, and then they started exporting all these services to back to the US. That created a virtuous cycle. They start importing technologies, they start using that technology for growing themselves. If you just consume that technology, then it is bad. If you're using that technology for selling something back, for growing your economy back, then that technological import is also good. Because that is resulting in some kind of innovation, some kind of development, some kind of growth in the economy. So technological backwardness is also one of the outcomes of underdevelopment and also contributor to underdevelopment. Because why? Because there is always a circular cycle. Always there is a circular cycle. Okay. फिर है high level of unemployment. So whenever there is underdevelopment, unemployment levels are high because people don't have jobs. लोगों के पास नौकरी नहीं है, लोगों को नहीं पता क्या करना है. Okay, People are dependent on agriculture, it results in disguised unemployment. Okay, I hope this is clear. Low human well-being, or we can call it as standard of living. Standard of living is low in an underdeveloped economy. Okay, why? Because people don't have resources. लोगों के पास पैसा नहीं है हाइजीन का ध्यान रखने का, लोगों के पास पैसा नहीं है डॉक्टर के पास जाने का, कोई प्रॉब्लम होगी तो वो सोचते हैं खुद ही सही हो जाएगा. ओके, वाइड इनकम इनइक्वालिटी, इनकम इनइक्वालिटी ज़्यादा होती है. This happens even when the economy is growing, but this is much more when the economy is underdeveloped. Okay, when an economy is underdeveloped, then some people have a lot of money where a lot of people don't have any money. The best example is Africa, where you see today in countries like Nigeria in the continent of Africa, where a lot of people are below poverty line, but very few number of people have a lot of money. बहुत थोड़े से लोग हैं जो बहुत politically charged हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा dominating हैं, they have a lot of money in their hands. Okay, agrarian economy, when an economy is underdeveloped, then there is the structural shift from agriculture towards industry does not happen, or it happens very slowly, just like it is happening in India, very slow. People are still employed in agriculture in large numbers in India. Why? Because they don't see any good opportunities in urban areas, because they're not skilled, because they don't know what the industry is demanding. Okay, so all those are reasons. Classification of countries based on per capita income. Low income को हम बोलते हैं when the per capita income is less than 1005. Low middle income 1006 to 3995. Upper middle income 3996 हो गए, 3996 to 12235. High income 12235 and above. Okay, so low middle, upper middle and high. This is the classification. Okay, this is the last one, definitions. Developed आपको समझ आ गया है. Industrialized country, high standard of living, low inequality, material welfare is high. ये सारे parameters हैं. Developing country, very high potential, standard of living is improving, industrialization is improving, everything is improving, is increasing, but it is not there yet. Least developed, all these parameters are going down or not improving at all. Sustainable development नहीं है, people vulnerable, standard of living is low. So this is how we can define developing, least developed or underdeveloped, and developing nations. Okay, so this was all about this session. I hope it was useful. I hope आपको समझ आ गया होगा the difference between growth and development. Okay, I have today another session at 8 o'clock on Instagram. That is going to be my first live session. Me and Manish sir will be sitting together and we'll be talking about certain very important things, philosophical things, practical things जो normally हम लोग ignore कर देते हैं अपनी इस रेस में एग्ज़ाम क्लियर करने की. I think it's very important that we talk about those things, because that is what separates rational human beings, mature human beings from not so mature, not so rational people, that they like to talk, not just blabber but create arguments. मैं कुछ बोलूँगा, आप कुछ बोलोगे, it'll result in something better, and I'm sure कि मुझे भी कुछ ना कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा. So I would request everyone, थोड़े से लोग बैठे हैं यहाँ, but 8 बजे इंस्टाग्राम पे आना लाइव पे. You will get to learn something new. I will also probably get to learn something new from you guys. I will be chatting with you guys as well. ठीक है, चलिए, I will see you again on today's Friday. So I will see you on Tuesday again with another session on Indian economy. Till then, take care. Bye bye. I will put the PDF on the Telegram group right away. Okay.